we need to give our best for this. We've gone so far, we can't turn back now.
Yeah.
Jesse, can we go to Paris? So not prepared for it.
Hello and welcome to the new episode of Sinarmas World Academy podcast. My name is Rajesh and I'm the teacher for computer science and digital design and also the co-supervisor for the Robotic Club of the school. Just to give a little preface about today's podcast. So we at Sinarmas World Academy pay a lot of emphasis on the holistic development of the students, because we strongly believe that just having theoretical knowledge is not enough for the overall growth of the students. And because of this very reason, we provide students with a lot of opportunities, not only within the classroom, but even as a part of after-school activities, wherein the students are able to apply their knowledge and understanding by looking at the problems surrounding them and find solutions for them. So as a part of after-school activities, we have a lot of activities available for the students, and they make the choice according to their interest and whatever they want to achieve out of those activities. Now, one of the most popular activities is the Robotic Club. And we have a lot of students starting from the early years right until the middle school, high school, where the students utilize the excellent state of the art infrastructure of the school, and they utilize those facilities in order to look at the problems, design a solution, and then develop them. So this gives the students a good opportunity to apply their knowledge and understanding in solving the problems around them. It's my pleasure to welcome three very talented students from Sinarmas World Academy who have made not only Indonesia, but the entire school community proud with their achievement. They have just returned from a very prestigious, in fact, one of the world's most prestigious robotic competition, which was held in Germany. And they really had to qualify for this competition at the national level before becoming eligible to participate in that competition. So just before we start talking about this project and the competition as a whole, I would like you to introduce yourself briefly.
Yeah, hey, so my name is Aiden and I'm in the 10th grade at SWA. Currently, I would say my interests mainly lie in robotics. I also enjoy doing sports like basketball, frisbee, and I would definitely say that this competition helped me a lot in that sense.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jessie. I'm in the 9th grade of Sinarmas World Academy. And I think my current interests are more into reading, but I also obviously like robotics because I'm in the Robotics Club.
As for me, I'm Yuju Chow from grade 10, and my interest is mostly in things like sports, such as volleyball and badminton, and also a little bit in coding.
That's excellent, and congratulations to all three of you for making us proud at this world level, and we are really very, very proud of your accomplishment. Okay, so one thing that I would like you to share with all of us is, was the competition a direct entry at the world level, or you really had to qualify for it? And if you had to qualify, then what were the different stages that you had to undergo in order to be eligible to participate in World Robot Olympiad in Germany?
Yeah, so I'll take this one. So essentially what happened is we first have a national round, and so we're competing in the Future Innovators category. So we're given themes like, say, healthcare. And essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to solve a major world problem, and in that sense you have to create a robot targeting a specific niche, for example. But in that sense, what we did was we competed in the national round in Surabaya, where he had to present to a variety of judges. They had to assess sort of like what level our project was, not just in terms of technicality, like say what modules you use, but say also the applicability of the project in, say, in industries that require it today.
Okay, that's really good to know, because so what was the theme when you took part in the competition at the national level?
Yeah, so essentially the big idea was, as for this year, it was My Robot, My Friend. And essentially, in this case, we chose theme number 3, which is essentially just healthcare. There were other themes like, say, robots in healthcare, or not just robots in healthcare, but I would say, like, say, robots in homes, robots in rescue. But essentially in healthcare, we decided to focus on the telesurgical system.
Yeah.
Essentially what we did was we tried to essentially connect doctors from a remote facility to essentially just ensure that there's accessible and quality healthcare provided. So yeah, we did that with.
Okay, so and was the same theme followed through to the world competition?
Yeah, for
Yes.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, there was actually, they can actually expand on this, but like we actually had to go through like a lot of changes during the project. So say when we returned back from the national round, we had to change the power supply system. So in this case, we added a USB trigger module. We had a circuit breaker and also pretty much a step-down transformer. It sort of act like sort of like several layers in the power supply to help stabilize the current that we were using, the voltage, to prevent any voltage spikes. So that's one of the main changes. And I guess we also changed the mechanical design specifically because originally we used a multi-turn Y1 potentiometer, but in that sense we realized that it would overcomplicate things and that we had to use a ADC converter module. So instead what we decided to do is, well, we decided to simplify things. We designed a new mechanical system, calculated the amount of load that it could carry, the amount of stress that we had to consider. And yeah, that's what we went when we went on the world stage. Yeah.
So that means from the national competition point of view, you came to know some of the limitations within your project, and then you worked as a team
Yeah.
to rectify those problems. Jessica, you want to talk something more about the issues that you faced initially, and how did you overcome them?
I think one of our issues was like the jittery problem, and we actually have like 3 different designs. The first design, I think the main problem was that we were using a standard 10K ohm potentiometer, where like there's the wiper in that one, and it easily broke. So that was like, it actually broke in the national competition, and I think we were really, really nervous about that.
Yes.
So yeah.
It was.
Okay.
There was 3 designs. Yeah, I think you want to talk about it.
Yes, I think it was also one thing we changed for the jittery problem was the program.
Yeah, the software.
Like the rate that the data was transferred and things like the
so
frequency
the
channel
error
and
bit
things
rate,
like that.
yeah, error bit rate.
So you mentioned that you chose to make the project based on the healthcare system, even though the event was quite open. It was my robot, my friend, right?
Yeah.
So what inspired you to work in the field of medicine instead of various different ways that you could have developed a robot which could help us as a friend?
Yeah.
Yes. So basically what our idea was that we would help, like since rural areas in Indonesia don't really have good healthcare, or like the doctors there are either unskilled or don't really have much experience in that field. So we want to connect doctors from more advanced medical facilities in, say, for example, Jakarta, to places, for example, like Pulau Seribu in Indonesia, where people don't really have access to good quality healthcare.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons we chose healthcare was because, like, Aiden, he's interested in robotics, and Jesse is interested in engineering, and I'm interested in a little bit more towards the biology field, and medical field is a great representation and showcase of the skills and knowledge in biology, and that's why we chose to combine our interests together to in order to solve the problem. And the Pulau Seribu inspiration came from our Wewewe trips, a week without walls trip that we went with our classmates and our seniors, grade 10 and 11. We went to Pulau Seribu for the trip, and we got to see it's a very rural area, I guess not very advanced, and there isn't much electricity, and sometimes it will just turn off and there's no Wi-Fi. There's not really much Wi-Fi at all to use.
Yeah, it's really much appreciated on your part that you are able to see the problems around you, and then you thought about a possible solution which could actually bring positive changes to the society. And this is what education is all about. And that's what I mentioned in the beginning, that, you know, in today's time, just rote learning, just learning the concepts and the content is not enough. Unless you are able to apply these skills in solving some real world problems, the education has no meaning. And I'm really happy, and I would like to appreciate your efforts for having identified certain problems around you and then thinking about a possible solution. So what was your feeling when you came to know that, okay, you have topped in Indonesia and you are all set to fly to Germany to take part in the next final round?
Yeah, I think it was really a lot of stress, I would say. I think during the first stages, like when we passed through the national round, right, we already had a set of problems that we were trying to fix. So say we had to fix the power supply system as mentioned, and then we also had to replace it, the mechanical and electrical design, because the parallel connections itself had like 80 soldered connections, and that took a lot of time. So really, we went through a lot of sleepless nights, I think, but I would definitely say it's all worth it, because I think the competitiveness that a competition offers as well, and like sort of like this sort of like the pressure that the subconscious pressure that you place on yourself actually helps elevate the performance that we've done. I think we've really tried to improve the solder connections. Even in Germany itself, we actually had to make several changes in the sense that some of the solder connections went out. The potentiometer that we're using, the potentiometer that we're using, which essentially was supposed to have a higher degree of accuracy as compared to our previous potentiometer that was unable to deal with a heavier load.
Yeah.
So in that sense, we had so many things to consider, but then I guess we just pushed through it, and at least we were.
That's great to hear that you identified the problem at the while taking part at the national level, and then you rectified, because I saw you working in the robotics lab, and you were trying to deal with the voltage fluctuation, especially because you were traveling to a different continent and you were unsure about what kind of voltage parameters you're going to get them, and the kind of precautions that you took, the kind of troubleshooting that you took in the robotics lab, that was worth that's worth appreciation.
Yeah, in fact, I think in fact, like the planes that time, you're not allowed to carry like a lead acid battery, because there's a specific rating that you're allowed to carry, right?
Right.
So we had like the limit was about 20,000 milliamps, and we had to bring like several of those power banks per person. I think, and then connect it to the USB trigger module after that. So
All right.
I think another problem that we faced was how we had to change from junior to senior, because the age requirement was changed from the national to the the international round. Because at first I think it was that in the competition you should not be above 16, but then in the international round it says that your birthday should not be
you should not turn 16 that year.
It should not be 2006, and I'm born in 2006, so we had to move to senior, or else they said it wouldn't be fair for the other teams. And for the senior round, it's actually not the same with the junior round, because it focuses more on the business aspects. Yes, and so what they expect us from us is that our project shouldn't be a prototype. It should be something that we can sell already, and then we can market in the market already, and we can try to like bring up to like what we thought was like there was a app that hospitals can buy supplies from, and then we would like to put our things there and sell it there, but then it's still not enough because it's still a prototype, and it can't really be applicable yet in the actual medical field.
Especially because like other teams, they were already informed that they would be in the senior category from the start. So I think they had more time to like prepare for the startup, like the startup requirement. Well, we were like told probably like a month before it, so we didn't really have a time to convert it from prototype to ready to be sold.
Functional model.
So we were quite.
All right. Okay. So now moving from Indonesia to Europe. Okay. So you came to know that you have been selected to represent Indonesia, which is a great thing on your part, and congratulations once again for that. So how was the feeling like when you came to know that you're flying to Europe to take part into the world competition?
I think for this one, on one hand, I was really, really I think we were all really, really happy that we would get the opportunity to go to another country to attend a competition. But on the other hand, we were also really, really nervous because, first of all, it's international. And there would be a lot of teams who are also very competitive because they've gone so far. And they all want to push through the end. So I think on that note, I think we were also really nervous, and at that moment, I think all of us had the same thought where it was we need to give our best for this. We've gone so far, we can't turn back now.
So despite these challenges about the age factor and about senior and junior category, still you came up with an excellent idea. And I think even if we look at your prototype, it's quite in a functional mode. Like I saw in the video that you were able to move the arms of the robotic arm, surgical arm, you call it, right? So it was still a very well-functional product. Now, I'm coming to the next point about the collaboration, okay? So these kind of projects require a lot of collaboration between all the members of the group. Now, considering that Jessica is not in your class, luckily Yuju and you both are in the same class, but Jessica is 1 year junior to you, so she's the junior most in your group. So you may be getting a lot of time to talk to each other within your class and maybe after class hours. Jessica, how did you manage to collaborate with them?
I think I remember the first meeting was online, and the atmosphere was really, really awkward because I think in that moment I've only talked to Yuju probably only a couple of times, and I haven't even talked to Aiden at all whatsoever. So
Was I that awkward?
yeah.
Yeah, I was confused why it was a junior because like last year it was a senior, and then
I was so worried because I got a text asking whether I wanted to join a robotics competition. And before I moved to SWA, I actually had no background in coding or robotics or literally anything regarding this field. So I was really nervous because both of them have been in SWA for such a long time and they've had so much time to like get to learn this while I had, a year at most, and like half of it was online. So the atmosphere was really, really awkward at first. But then I remember the first day I came to his house to actually start preparing the robot. Not prepare the robot, like discuss about the robot. I remember that I feel like they would be really good friends to me. And even now, I feel really happy that I got this opportunity because I think they are one of my closest friends, and I can depend on them for anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I can endorse the fact that Jessica had absolutely no knowledge about the coding. Not with a negative connotation, but I want to appreciate her because first time when I got her in my computer science class in grade 9, she came from a background where there was no computer science offered in her previous school. And I had to teach her right from the beginning, that is what are variables, what are constants, what is if, else, everything. And considering that she just started off just about an year ago about the coding skills, and then coming to this level where she's able to code the robots and she's able to make it functional, that is really much appreciated on your part, Jessica. All right, so now moving on. So collaboration we talked about. Now tell me one thing, that did you face any challenges while working, because you can't do everything during the school hours, right? So we had a few days reserved for robotic practices, like on Monday after school and Tuesday after school. But did you find that time enough in order to implement your ideas? Because I personally don't think that just having an hour is enough for you. So did you ever meet outside the school hours to work on the project?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. In fact, we would spend like Saturdays and Sundays, or even Fridays at times, even weekdays, we'd find whatever time, and we'd work for hours on end. Oftentimes, I think there was one time where I didn't sleep for 3 days.
Wow.
That was mainly because like the time was coming in, like for the competition to start. We needed to pack and everything. But I hadn't finished soldering the connections. Like I just finished soldering the PCB, and then the next part was I haven't even finished calibrating the potentiometer. So the stress was peaked that time because I needed to calibrate the potentiometer. I needed to ensure that all the servos had enough torque to carry the load, and even the solar tracking mechanism. Right. With that, I had to replace this. They have these angular bearings on the solar tracker, and that was one thing that I had to replace as well. So like with them, we met up like a lot of times, I think, after school. Like in fact, even in the holidays, we just came over, tried to fix the robot, discussed how we can improve the robot in that sense. Yeah,
I feel like we've always had, despite like the fact that sometimes we had to pull all-nighters to complete the project. I remember one time we went there at like around 8 at night and then went home at like around 7 in the morning. So none of us slept that night, but I think it was worth it because despite everything, I think we're really good friends. At least I think so. We're good friends, so we can have like conversations. Especially not only regarding the robot, but for example, when someone's doing one thing and the other's doing the other thing to complete the robot, we all often have conversations regarding like not only about the robot, but also, for example, regarding our daily lives or what happened or like our interests and stuff. So I think we also got to get to know each other a lot better through those meetings that we met, the times we spent outside of school as well.
Yeah, that bonding is very important, because unless you trust each other, unless you have a very good bonding, it's very difficult to kind of collaborate or contribute on certain aspects of the project. Now, tell me one thing, Yuju, from your experiences. Like in IB, we teach the ATL skills. In fact, we expect you to develop certain ATL skills. Now, one of them is self-management skills and the research skills. So obviously, I'm quite confident that you must have applied a lot of research skills in order to identify the aspects related to your project. Now, we have seen many students struggling with the time management skills as well as the self-management skills. So I know that all three of you are top scorers in your class in terms of academics, but what suggestions do you have for the students who often complain that we are not getting enough time to even complete our assignments and take part into the summative and semester exams? But you, on the other hand, are able to do so well with your academics, and at the same time, you are also able to find out time for projects like this, which requires enormous amount of time. So how do you manage time?
I think it really wouldn't be possible to do both if we never slept late and we just slept at 9 p.m. And it's impossible to do like summatives and with quality work while doing the project and the robots with quality work as well, without being able to sleep late and like work up and stay up. And so time, it really isn't enough, and now we just have to stay awake, don't sleep, and it doesn't work.
I think even for me, procrastination is a huge issue when it comes to like sometimes I get home from school and all I want to do is sleep. I would get so tired, but sometimes I just have to push through it, especially before the exams, because we went back from the competition
2 days before.
2 days before. No, exam already started.
Yeah, exam already started.
Exam already started. Our exam was like 2 days after we arrived from Germany. So I was really jet lagged. I'm sure all of us were. I was really jet lagged, and all I wanted to do was rest. But I remember the first exam was chemistry, and I was so not prepared for it. So I studied for 4 days straight just so I can get a decent score at the chemistry exam.
I think, for me, honestly, like say before transitioning into grade 10, as a 9th grade student, I often slept like really late at night, and mostly because I had to balance a lot of the workloads. And I think at that time it was, I realized that I had to change something, right? Because I realized that I could be spending my time a lot better, like I could divide them more efficiently. So I think a big change for me was actually to have really early mornings, because I realized that my brain functioned much more efficiently. I wouldn't say having a morning routine, but rather I think waking up early, sort of clearing your mind and just focusing on your work. Even doing light exercise in the morning helps a lot.
That's very important, yes.
I can't do that.
Yeah, I also can't. I'm a night person.
Me too. I remember the time in Surabaya where I was sharing a room with Yuju. Both of us slept at like 3 a.m. because neither of us could sleep, and we just got McDonald's. And we needed to, review like whatever we needed to say for the presentation.
Actually, I completely agree that there can't be a fixed way that everybody should be following in a mechanical way for the effective time management. Like, I like to work till the late night if I have a lot of work to complete. I'd rather, prefer staying till late night rather than waking early in the morning and then working on it. So it's perfectly fine as long as you are able to keep a balance between all your assignments without pushing much on the deadlines. It's perfectly fine, right? And we're really happy the way you manage your time, keeping up with all the assessments, all the assignments, and at the same time contributing and collaborating on your project work. Right? Okay, now we'll go to the next level, which is in Germany. But before going to that level, I want to know that when you were competing in Indonesia, you had all the teams from kind of similar background, similar culture, because most of them, in fact, all of them were from Indonesia. Now, when you reached Germany, right, you must have come across teams from different countries, different continents, different culture, right?
Yeah.
So was it like a surprise to you? What was your experience? We really want to know that part. That when you reached Germany, what was your impression looking at other teams?
Yeah, I think one thing, it wasn't too much of a culture shock, but I think I definitely noticed that people there were a lot more open, and in a sense they were more, I would say they were more social in that sense. Like they were more willing. They had energy that sort of like draw you to them in that sense, and I think it was a brilliant occurrence, because from that we actually learned a lot from them. Like, and from our conversations we learned that, say for example, one of the teams used an Arduino Nano, an accelerometer, and then they actually sort of tried to compact their product down. They used the gyro sensor as well, and so they took a different approach from ours, and then we realized, okay, so as for next year's competition, how can we improve? And I think the fact that they were willing to share ideas and that they were like-minded in that sense, I think that's something that you can't find anywhere. And it's seriously, I think I would say it's one of the most valuable parts of the experience,
Right.
I think it was really fun and cool because we get to socialize with people from the other countries, and then we get to exchange gifts from their countries, and also we shared about our robot and how it works, and some of them were quite similar, and then we can learn from one another because some of them had places where it was better than ours, and also we could share about ours as well and then give feedback, and overall it was a really fun experience. I don't think it was really shocking because we were always exposed to like international mindedness and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, for me, I think it was more of a different experience for me than the two of them, because I've never really, traveled for competitions. I think the furthest place I've traveled to is Malaysia, which is really, really close to Indonesia. So to travel to a different continent for a competition, I was really nervous to meet the people there, and like I hadn't been to Europe since I was like 4.
Okay.
So I was kind of nervous to see like how the circumstances were there. But I think I really enjoyed socializing. Like most of the people were like, none of them were mean. Like they were all really, really nice. And like I remember, especially some of them, for example, like the Taipei team, I got to practice my Chinese with them. And I think I've made quite a lot of friends, and I talk to some of them somewhat regularly now. Yeah, so I think I've more or less like got to socialize with different cultures, and of course, since we all have a shared interest for robotics, we would also share regarding like what we thought and like how we did our robot and like our experience. What do we think of Germany? How is robotics in their country? Yeah, that's.
So, could you describe the overall event? Like, how was your day right from morning till the evening? Because I'm sure that the day must be very tiring. You had to put up your stall and you had to explain your project to many people. So, if I ask you to just briefly describe about morning to evening schedule.
I think on the first day it was just setting up the stall, and then at night we had the welcome dinner, and then there was like the assembly, and then they were like introducing the people, and there was some performances, and then we ate dinner, and then we went home, and then the next day was the start of the judging session, and then at first we still like finished up the packing because I think the potentiometer broke, and then we had to fix it, and then we brought it back to the venue, and then we prepared our speeches and like practice, and then at night on the second day we had the friendship dinner, and it was a friendship night, and it was like there was a lot of really fun things, but then all of us were too tired to join. But then we could see from the stories of the people there that it was looked really fun. And on the last day was just another judging session, and then the awarding ceremony at the end.
So I think if like you just explain like what we did through the day, I think I'll explain more to the how we felt throughout the day. Like for me at least, at the start of the day I would feel dead. I would be really, really tired, especially because the first day it was the second day, third day since we arrived in Germany. Third day I was still really tired because the day before we were like setting up the robot because we had to unpack everything. So first day I felt really tired until I started like meeting people from different countries, and we started sharing interests, and I think I was at that moment where I felt like I had the most energy. And then as we continued setting up the stalls, and of course the the welcome assembly was quite pleasant. I like knowing who were behind our competition. The second day, the judging sessions, I think all of us were really nervous for it because there were the most judging sessions on the second day.
Okay.
The second day out of the third day, we had like 3 out of 4 judging sessions. So it was the day where we met the most judges. So I think the 3 of us were kind of stressed for that. And by the 4th day, we were more or less like kind of relieved we're mostly done with it. So
Yeah, and I think also like say about the judging sessions, the reason why is despite it being sort of like an experience where you're sort of like stressed in that sense, I think what it really does, it forces you to think in really in a different perspective, because I think like the judges, they actually ask meaningful questions, like they take things out of perspective. Say we used say servo, right, to create a 35 kilogram MG996R servo, for example, and the judges asked, well, how would you approach this differently? Would you have used a linear actuator, for example, or why would you not use say a stepper motor? And in that sense, we had a lot of different arguments for it. There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah, exactly.
So exactly, you can like say with a stepper, for example, obviously it can carry heavier loads as well. In that sense, it doesn't have gear down system, but it's extremely precise in the sense that they don't even have a closed feedback loop system, double closed feedback loop system. But in that sense, servos on the other hand make it easier to program. With a stepper, you also have to consider that it's actually really beneficial to have it as well. If you attach a limit and a retract switch, it would function as a linear actuator in that sense. So the judges really want to sort of not only verify how much you understand and how much you can actually project this into the market in the real world, but they also want to force you to think in different ways, and you have like that sort of moment, right? So I think that's one key thing about the competition.
Right. So do you have a count of how many schools that you had to compete with and how many nationalities?
I think it was 37.
40 something.
37, but then like 2 of them didn't come. So,
So about 38 schools.
Around there.
How many nationalities approximately?
Oh yeah, like 38.
Yeah.
Oh, so
38.
each, exactly. Yeah, that's obvious. That from every
most
country,
people-
Every country is one.
maximum one can come. Okay. All right.
Most countries actually went for senior. Yeah, there were very little, at least for future innovators, because we saw the list. Like there were the list of where everything was, and it was divided by category.
Yeah.
We could see that a senior had significantly more contestants than elementary.
Than the junior
so
ones,
yeah.
Okay. So on the first day when you were setting up your booths, you must have got some time to go around that hall and look at other projects. So tell me honestly, did you feel scared that by looking at the level of other projects, or you had the confidence that yes, we have worked very hard and our idea is very noble, so we are definitely going to make it into the top list of the competition?
When I saw the Malaysian one, it was
It's so big. It's so impressive.
I was like, oh, it's like, how do we win this?
I think on one hand we were all really nervous because so many of them had really, really impressive robots.
Yeah.
The German team has such a large robot. I was impressed on how they managed to get it there in the first place. I know they were from Germany, but like but then on the other hand, I think we were confident in our robot and that it would do well. Even if we didn't get into the top 8, we would be proud of our project regardless. Yeah.
It's sort of like having confidence in your own child. Like if you
I can understand. Yes. So that emotional feeling and the emotional
attachment to it.
Also, all of the other teams look equally stressed. So
that's a good way to look at the things, because if you are nervous, that means other teams are also nervous, and the one who can maintain their character at that particular time, they are the ones who are going to lead, right? Okay. So you talked about the functional aspect of your project. So do you think, even though you were able to achieve top 7 rank and you won 3 silver medals, which is worth appreciation, but do you think that if you were aware and you had enough time to work on a functional model with the same concept, you would have gone into top 3?
I would definitely agree. I think it's our project in that sense. It's related in the medical field, so of course you need to get a license and everything. But we're actually not we actually had, of course, a few steps to go, but we have full trust that it can actually go to the next level. In the sense that, say, about the potentiometers, one of the issues that we faced was, say, the reason why we had to use the ADS-115 module is because the choice of potentiometer was not correct. We had to sort of increase the bitrate resolution. And so if we had the correct choice of materials, and if we had enough time probably to solder, to create maybe a more sustainable mechanical design, and sort of make the interface more intuitive for and say attaching like multiple flex sensors and more potentiometers in that sense, I think we could definitely bring it to the next level in that sense. But yeah, I think regardless, it was really good experience because we learned a lot of things from the other teams and judges' feedback.
Because for senior team, it's mostly about like how easy is it to be applicable into the market. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be like, it's like
marketable.
Marketable. Like it's like a Shark Tank or like Dragon Den.
Shark Tank.
You have to like persuade them to like buy it. Like it's a good product.
Whereas juniors,
like
Well,
that's
as juniors is more of the prototype kind of thing. So.
It's like the technical skills. And so for the first place for the senior one was actually like a very small project. It was like a spoon for
Parkinson.
Parkinson patients. So like when
they're shaking, then it will maintain the balance.
Yes.
Okay. So it was not about the size, as you said, that German robot was very big, or it was not about the complexity, but the real world application of the solution that you have developed. Right?
I think the most, like, all of us were surprised to see Malaysia didn't get the top 8 because
Germany as well, right?
Germany and Malaysia, we were all so shocked until we realized that neither of them really fit the startup category.
Okay. Yeah, because it's all about the rubric. You know, they may have, in terms of the model, they may have done a lot of good work, but then there may be some other aspects of the rubric which they may have not fulfilled. Like, for example, in your case, because it was just restricted up to the prototype level, so you may have missed certain scores in that category, which may have reduced your ranking, despite being the fact that in terms of model and its efficiency, this may have been the best one among all other teams, right? But because you may have lost certain marks in the functional aspect, so that may have brought you down. Okay. Now, coming to little leisure part. So, did you get time during your stay in Germany where you could just go around the city and enjoy yourself?
We traveled to Paris because it was like just next, like
it's not very far. So
we just used the train like a few hours, and then we went to stay there, and we went to see the Eiffel Tower, and then we got to eat macarons.
Versailles was closed. But I remember on the first day, right before we were about to fly to Germany, Yuju asked me, Jessie, can we go to Paris? I checked the visa. It works for all European countries.
Because you have the Schengen visa.
It works for all European countries. Can we go to Paris?
And the Taiwanese passport also allows.
So don't tell me that it was decided on the spot. You never had a plan from here that you'll go to Paris.
No, we did.
Our parents were like ordering like in the hotel before. The hotel, the train, everything was on the day.
Because they were ordering.
That was also there as well.
I remember my mom asking me at like 10 p.m. Jessie, which hotel do you want? You and Yuju pick one.
So that actually defines the IB learner profile of being risk taker. And I wonder your parents allowed on the spot that yes, you can travel to Paris.
I think they saw like they were proud of what we've accomplished, even though like it wasn't top 3 or anything. But I think they were proud to see their children like be so motivated in that sense.
So it was a kind of reward. It was a kind of reward from the parents that okay, you have done so well, so you deserve to go.
Reward.
No, I didn't know this part of your journey that you went to Paris, and that's really so good on your part that you took out some time and utilize. Again, this is all about time management, and there's nothing wrong that if you got some time out of your competition and you visited another country or another city, that's really worth appreciable, right? Okay, so did you make, I'm sure you must have made a lot of friends during the competition from other countries. So are you still in touch with them?
Some of them, yeah.
So do you think that, like within the school you worked on a specific idea, which was the surgical arm, right? Now, do you think that since it was about medical facilities to the underprivileged or the people who live in the remote areas.
Yeah.
Do you think that you were inspired by some other people's project and you would, if given a chance, you would like to collaborate with them to make a complete ecosystem to help such people who kind of are deprived from getting the best of medical facilities because of various reasons?
I think there's an existing solution that is similar to ours, but it's not that similar. Like the Da Vinci model, like the robot is also can like move and pick up stuff.
Yeah.
But then
It costs-
it's
costs
very expensive.
It costs millions,
Million
right?
dollars.
Millions of
Yeah.
dollars.
Wow.
Yeah.
And ours is only around thousands. And so, 6,000, yeah.
Yeah,
And
$6,000.
so we
I think
like
in terms of implementation, it's far more feasible, right? Because I don't think, say, medical facilities, I don't think they have the budget to accommodate that
exactly.
when it's still
Rural
in the
areas.
process of being licensed, right? Yeah.
if it's millions, even the government can't like afford like too many of them to like give to like the rural area hospitals.
Yeah. I think an experience that sort of like flick the switch in us would probably be when we went to not only this Pulau Seribu trip, but I'd say when we go to visit schools like Sekolah Kami, I realized that sort of like the situation that they were in, and realized we wanted different factors. So of course they couldn't really live with abundant amount of resources and electricity. But another problem is, what about healthcare? Where is the accessibility to healthcare?
Yeah.
In fact, they can be easily misdiagnosed, and
Yeah.
we sort of realized that we needed to sort of like desegregate, or in that sense, help break the chains of, I guess you would say, I guess the increasing healthcare demands that's growing rampant as well. So yeah, I think that's one thing that we have to say. Yeah.
Fine. So now let's talk about the project in itself, because we may have a lot of viewers who may not understand very technical, words. Or technical terminology. So if I ask you to describe your project in very simple layman's language as to what your project is intended to do, and what kind of people are going to get benefited from this kind of product if it comes into the market.
Yeah, so essentially our product is a telesurgical system. So we connect, we aim to connect doctors from more advanced, as I said, more advanced medical facilities to more rural areas. So we use like potentiometers to map resistance, servos, whatever. So if the doctor does this on one of the robots, the other robot will follow
the
it.
same. Okay.
Yes. And then since the electricity in Indonesia is unstable, sometimes there will be like a lot of it which cause like jitters sometimes, or like none at all, which would be very dangerous if a person is being operated on. So we decided to use a solar tracker in order to track sunlight, in order to power the robot in the rural areas, so the person can get stable electricity.
All right. Yeah, that's a very good thought process, because that is one of the problems when people talk about providing remote assistance to the people who live in a remote area, is the problem of electricity. Because yes, it will be disastrous if the surgery is going on and the power fails. And it was really good on your part to have thought about not just about the solution, but also how to deal with these kind of problems like electricity. Correct? Yeah. So you want to add anything about the project?
For us, there is the solar tracker, which is connected to the power system, and there is like a battery, which is connected to the USB trigger module, and which is like to
negotiate voltage,
maximize the voltage, and then there's a power down the system.
MCB circuit breaker and the step down transformer.
Yes.
So essentially we went from about 100 watts with 90% efficiency to we negotiated for 20 volts, 5 amps, and then we went through the MCB circuit breaker as another layer, sort of like a safety net, and then we finally used the step down transformer with about 5 volts, 1 amp.
Yes, this is so that there is enough amps and current, but then like not too much voltage, so that the thing doesn't burst.
Essentially like the servos itself, like we used about in this case 14 servos, right? In this case, and that required about like 60 watts. So we had to also work with, I guess, the lithium ion batteries that we were using.
Yeah, and when so much of technicality is involved in your product, then precision needs to be there, because
Yeah.
even if a small mistake or small variation in the voltage could lead to a lot of changes in your project, the way it functions, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for sharing all your ideas with us, and I'm sure that your participation into this world level competition will inspire the junior batches in the school, and I'm sure that they will also come forward and take your ideas forward, or maybe they will come up with the new ideas. And the overall objective of good education is not only to pass the exams, but more than that, a lot more than that, is to develop the skills which are not only going to help you to grow in your career, but also develop certain systems which are beneficial for the society, and to make this world a better place to live in, right? So once again, congratulations to all of you for making us proud, making this country proud, and I would really wish you good luck for your future endeavors, and I hope that you will continue to do excellent in this field of robotics, because this world is all about robotics, artificial intelligence, and you have picked up the right pathway. And the kind of exposure that you have got from the school in terms of preparing yourself with the skills in robotics is going to help you going forward, not only in your higher education, but also in your professional careers. So thank you so very much for sharing your experiences, and all the very best.
Thank you.